Hey, what's up everyone? It's Richie and welcome to another track guide. This time we're going to the Phoenix International Raceway out in Phoenix with the ARCA car. Once again, we're going to be doing a fixed setup using the Phoenix 2021 setup. We're using the new Phoenix with the open dog leg. So this is the new track that they did last year, and honestly this is probably one of my top 5, maybe even top 3 tracks to run on. I just love it. Even though they killed it with the dog leg, I still love the track in general. There's some quirks to it with the way the pit road works and stuff, but yeah, still one of my favorite tracks to run on. Today we're going to be running again with the default iRacing weather, 78 degrees, 55% humidity, a 2-mile-an-hour north wind, partly cloudy, and it's going to be in the afternoon. Today we're going to be using, as far as the setup is concerned, again, Phoenix 2021, 12-to-1 ratio, -8 offset, 64% rear brake. So yeah, that's it. With that, I'm going to go over the qualifying laps here. Basically, what I'm going to show you for the qualifying, once we get done with it, I kind of want you to forget it when we get to the race, because I'm going to show you. All right, we're going to hop out here and
you've got 1 gallon left.
Start our laps for qualifying. Now, it's important to note, once again, this is a double lap qualifying effort. The first lap, we're going to use pretty much any line you want. What you're doing is looking to get heat in your tires without overheating your tires. So do whatever you can to not slide the tires at any point in the first lap, whether you're coming to the green or the actual first lap. Again, all we're looking to do is to get enough heat in the tires that we're not as loose as we would be on this first lap, because the first lap you're just going to be too loose to get a good lap going here. So we use this first lap as a get up and go lap. You can use pretty much any line you want on that first lap. Your goal again is just to not overheat the tires. So what we're going to do now is, I'm slowing this down because on this coming to the white flag lap, we're going to go in here high. We're going to aim for this seam right here going into the corner. We're going to slide up to the top seam and be careful not to hit the wall, because that would defeat the purpose. But the goal again is come all the way up, and this is going to give us a huge monster run down the front stretch. And what we're going to combine this with is cutting the dog leg as far down as you possibly can, basically as far down as you possibly can. Now, I only recommend doing this on your qualifying lap. I do not recommend cutting the dog leg at any point during the race, because it's super dangerous. Dangerous because you can lose control of your car. It's dangerous because if you're running with somebody, you can lose track of where they are and run into them when you come back onto the racetrack, or they can lose track of where you are. But I don't really recommend using this line in anything other than qualifying or any point during. Again, I can't stress enough, I don't recommend doing it during the race. So, but anyway, here we go. We're high. We're going to stick our foot in it, throttle, get a really large run down the dog leg, just missing the pit wall, and then we're going to come back up and into the corner. And I'll go through this lap. I'm just going to let you see how this lap unfolds, but we'll go through this lap in a little bit more detail as soon as we get done. So, now we go low into 3 here to complete the lap, and you'll note that I do get a little bit loose. Woo! A little loose right there. Or we could have been a bit faster even than the 27.54. Probably could have got a 27.5 flat, maybe even a 4 if I didn't get loose right there. But that's something I'm about to talk about. So, again, going down into this corner right here, you'll see I use brake to get the car slowed down as I come up to the top of the track. And as soon as I get up to the top and feel it, I'm not going to hit the wall, I bury the throttle. You want to get as big run down this front stretch as you possibly can. What we're going to do is we're going to aim to cross the track down in this particular direction. Do not hit the wall. That's bad. And then we're going to come back up, and we're just going straight basically. And we're going to try to come up between the 1 and the 2, and then we're turning immediately back down into the corner. And I believe I really hit the brakes right before, or actually right after this first cone right here. So we passed it right at the cone, actually. So right at that cone, that number 1 cone, we're turning into the corner with this trajectory right there. You'll see that I come all the way out to the throttle, and I use about 20 to 30% throttle, trail braking down into the middle of the corner, let it roll, and then I start to pick up the throttle really right about this O'Reilly sign. So I do actually get a little bit right there, but I really start to pick up the throttle right at the O'Reilly sign right there. Do not go full throttle. If you go full throttle right off the bat, you're going to spin out, get loose. So you want to use partial throttle as we come through through turns 1 and 2 and off. And you can see I'm getting loose right there, and I'm having to drive the car completely out of the corner. As I come out, I'm getting further and further, or closer and closer to full throttle, and I get full throttle right about here, which is past this Instacart green sign up here on the fence. So once you get past that, you get full throttle into the car, and down the straightaway we go. So down the straightaway nice and straight, and what we're going to do is we are going to brake right there. So this is unfortunately halfway between the 2 cone and the 1 cone. That's about as good as I can get for you guys. As far as a marker, you can see the 1 cone up there, and if we looked back in the mirror, you would see the 2 cone. So again, between the 1 and the 2, we're going to run on this trajectory down into the corner. We are going to completely lift out, use a little bit more throttle going into the corner in 3 here, and the main goal getting through this corner is staying on this yellow line the whole way through the corner. So that's the fast way around this corner, this particular set of corners. Again, partial throttle. I believe I pick up the throttle. Let's go back and take a look real quick. I pick up the throttle, and this is again another weird one, right? So there's no marker for me where I pick up the throttle. The only thing I can tell you is right around here, which is where the Geico signs up here. The Geico restart zone is about midway between this pane of glass on the windshield. All right, so when that is, and it's a very natural feel, you'll start to pick up the throttle right there. And again, not full throttle yet. You want to get through the corner. And the reason why I get loose right there is I actually have a little bit too much throttle in it for that particular part of the corner. And I backed off a little bit less, I would actually not have gotten loose there. Yeah, so I got loose there, but at full throttle, and then track out and then come down as quickly as you can to cut off that line, and that is your qualifying lap. And again, I don't recommend running that type of a line at any particular point during your race. It's a very dangerous way to race. You can run into people coming out of pit road. You can lose the car going down there, especially on older tires. You can crash coming back onto the racing surface. So yeah, I don't recommend doing that. So let's look at some laps here. So I did a 30 lap run here. We're going to look at lap 2 right here. And so there's not a ton of difference between the race lap and the qualifying lap, other than the qualifying lap, you are going in as deep as you can. You're getting on the throttle as quickly as you can in both corners. With this, you're going to notice a slight variation of how I enter the corner and also how I come out of the corner. So let's go ahead. You'll also note that I am no longer going all the way down there. I'm going down to this white line right there. That's a more natural line with Phoenix. than going all the way down, and it's also, again, less intrusive to everybody around you. Your spotter will still have somebody to your outside if you need to. If you go all the way down to the bottom, the spotter may lose the guy to your outside. So anyway, so once we come down here, we're going to lift. So I know I said you don't go in as deep as I did on qualifying, but because I'm carrying so much more speed in qualifying going into one, because of that run that I got going up way high and cutting the corner, I do actually go a little bit deeper earlier on in the run than I did in the qualifying run, because I'm not carrying as much speed as I was in qualifying. So I go just to the one cone, maybe a tad bit further than the one cone, but definitely to the one cone is definitely safe for getting into this corner. I use a little bit more brake to slow me down and down right here, and slow down a little bit right in the middle. I start to pick up the throttle right at the O'Reilly sign. So right there, I pick up the throttle. Again, not the full throttle, just about 70 to 80%. But then I'm getting the full throttle a little bit earlier. You'll notice that I actually picked it up actually right here at the green before I get to that Instacart sign right there. So right here, I'm going to full throttle. And the reason why I can get into full throttle a little bit sooner than I can on the qualifying lap, again, I was carrying so much more speed going into and through on that particular corner in a qualifying lap that you cannot get the full throttle as soon as you can on a race lap, because the race lap I'm slowing down more in the center of the corner. So then we're going to go down the backstretch, and we're going to lift and brake again, because we're earlier on in the run, about halfway between the two and the one, maybe even a little bit before. And then it's basically the same trajectory into the corner using trail brake, right to the center right there. And then we slowly get into, well, not even slowly, I start to pick up the throttle right here. And you'll note that the Geico Rico's restart zone is no longer right here where we picked it up in qualifying. It's now all the way over here. So we're further into the corner before we pick up the throttle. And then a big key to Phoenix, right? So again, you want to stay on that yellow line, which I'm actually up a little bit, but you want to stay on that yellow line as much as you can through 3 into 4 here. But and again, you want to use a little bit of again, you see I get loose here because I have throttle in it, but Phoenix is going to be loose. But once you get the full throttle coming out of this corner, you don't want to lift. You want to be able to come out of this corner full throttle. So as soon as you're in it, you want to be able to be in it all the way down the straightaway, because that's a huge key to running fast here. So as you come out, you're going to track up as high as the car needs to stay full throttle. And then you're going to cut down across the line, and again, cut down to that white line back to 1 and 2. So that's the beginning part of a lap at Phoenix. The next lap I want to take a look at is actually lap 15 on this particular run. And you'll see, so this is halfway through my run, my 30-lap run. So again, heading right down to the white line there, cutting the corner. We're coming up, and now halfway through, we are still going into the exact same spot, going into the corner. So we're lifting right at that one cone. Right there. As soon as we pass that, or as soon as we get to that one cone, we're lifting and braking, using the same amount of brake, getting into the corner, maybe trail braking a little bit further into the corner. You'll see that I'm rolling, and then I'm getting into the throttle. And again, this is halfway during a 30-lap run here. I'm getting into the throttle. You'll see that I believe we were saying the O'Reilly earlier. Yep. Now I'm getting into the throttle a little bit past the O'Reilly, almost at the Xfinity sign right there. So we're using a little bit more brake getting into the corner. We're rolling through the corner a little bit and picking up the throttle quite a bit later. But again, not using full throttle, using as much throttle as possible to keep the car going forward and not getting overly loose. And you'll notice that we didn't get to full throttle on this particular lap until past the Instacart again. way past the Instacart sign right there. So down the straightaway we go, and we'll take a look as we get down into turn 3 here. Now, as we're getting further in the run, now we're actually lifting at the 2, right? So as the run goes on, you got to back that corner up going into 3, because 3 is actually a tighter corner, obviously, than 1 is. So we brake using right around the same amount of brake, but again, right down to this yellow line, rolling through the center, and then we're picking up throttle right there again, where the Geico sign gets to about this pillar right there, that window brace right there. So we're gonna pick up the throttle, partial throttle, and then I'm getting to full throttle as quickly as I can, letting the car come out wide without hitting the wall, and then down onto the next lap. So as the run goes on, like I said, you need to back the corner entry up a little bit. You need to have a little bit more brake going in the corner, and then let it roll through the center a little bit on both sides. So the last one I want to do is lap 30, which is the lap 33 here. So it's lap actually 29 to 30 on this particular run. So this is 30 laps in, down to the white line going in, down into 1. This time I'm braking and lifting a little bit before the first cone, using brake to come down into the corner, just like we have. But you'll notice here, and this is important to note. So Phoenix is cool, right? One of the reasons why it's really cool is that there's a lot of different things and techniques that you can use to try to save tires here, and this is particularly one of them here. We're still running the bottom of the racetrack. However, what we're doing is I'm going into the corner and I'm using what they call a diamond. I'm diamonding the corner. The reason why I'm doing that is because it's allowing me to carry speed into the corner, but I'm rolling up the racetrack a little bit, and by doing that, I'm actually not burning off that right front tire, because I'm not trying to hold it to the bottom of the racetrack. So if I was trying to keep the car down here, I'm going to have to see how much wheel I actually have into the car. In order to continue to be down here, I'd have to have even more wheel into the car. Putting more wheel into the car is going to make the right front tire hotter, and it's going to burn off. So by allowing the car to drift up a little bit here into the corner, about the seam, you can go anywhere between here and kind of here. You'll see that I'm basically straddling this seam right here until the car gets to the middle of the corner. We pick up pretty much in the same spot as where we do when we're on the bottom of the racetrack. Now the main difference is I still come out on the bottom, right? So now that we're actually, our trajectory is going to be, it's not going to continue to follow that seam. It's going to actually cut across to the yellow line and out, and that's going to help us get off the corner with as much speed as we possibly can. Here I bring it back down to the yellow line, and then I'm full throttle well before the Instacart. I do get loose. The reason why I get loose is because I did full throttle, and I probably full throttled a little bit too early for what the car can handle. So that's an important note. You can do that in turn 1, and you can actually do that during the most part of the run. The more you're kind of free with that entry into 1, the more tire you can possibly save. That's not necessarily the case so much with 3 and 4. Again, because the corner is tighter and it's slower, I find it that you need to be more keeping the car on the bottom the shortest way around in order to make as much speed as you possibly can. So we go down here into turn 3, and again, just past the 2, lift and brake, down into the corner. Here's your same trajectory that I've been using down to the bottom of the racetrack, trail braking down into the corner. You see, actually, I'm trail braking a little bit further than I normally do, and then less roll and back to the gas, pretty much at the Geico sign again. You'll note that that's, once you get that pattern down, that's pretty much the pattern as the tires wear out. Back to throttle. Again, your goal is to try to get to this full throttle out of 4 as quickly as you can and not get out of the throttle. Drive up to the top of the track and then cut it back down again. And so that's basically the tips and track guide for the new Phoenix track with the ARCA car. There's something to note here. So we start off at a 27.8. Really, the first lap 27.0. That's our first lap, but 27.8 is basically our first lap, hot lap with the car on a 30 lap run. And you'll note that we went to lap 18, which is the 15th lap, which is halfway through, and we're almost a second off the pace of where we started. So in 15 laps, we lose a second. And I've gone over this before with the ARCA car, that there's a specific plateau that these cars reach, where it loses, and then all of a sudden it kind of hits a plateau where in the same amount of time you may only lose a tenth or two. So again, looking here, 27.8 to a 28.7, and then I run 28.7, 1, 2, 3, 4. Actually, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's a 6, 6, 7 laps in a row at a 28.7. So that's that plateau I was talking about. And once you get to your points where you can consistently hit your marks, you get to a plateau where you can run the same lap time, lap after lap. And you'll note that at that particular point, I start to lose a little bit. So here's my last lap 24 right here is my last 7. And I'm running 8s for 3 more laps. Well, actually 3, 4, 5 more laps. And then I go to 0s where I run a 0 then for the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So like the next 10 laps after I hit this 7 mark, I only lose 3 more tenths. So it's a second for the first 15 laps, and then it was only 3 tenths for the next 15 laps. So that plateau happens with the ARCA car, and your goal is to try to make that plateau, as low as possible. Like you could plateau at like a 29 flat up here, but you would be 3 tenths slower than I am. So you want that plateau, obviously, as a smaller lap time as you can possibly get, without burning off your tires. So again, that's it. That's Phoenix. I don't know how popular this video is going to be. I don't know if ARCA is going to this particular track, but my league is running ARCA at this track, so I felt like giving them a track guide. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. And if you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them. Everybody have fun.